Building a substantial amount of muscle mass might be one of the best retirement provision out there. After all, your mind and your body are the only two things that can't really be taken away from you. And it is a lot easier to build muscle when young and fit and maintain it into old age. But people often argue what is the best way to create new muscle mass. And a small disclaimer, this information is for naturals. Enhanced athletes have additional options, but this works too. And we will order all the things that are necessary for creating new muscle mass on a tier list in this video. Keep in mind though that building muscle mass as a natural is usually a slow but steady process. Thus, the ability to stick to a plan is actually very crucial. But let us now begin and look at the least important item out there. And I cannot overstate how unimportant supplements actually are. They made it into the list, therefore they have some place, but in general, it is the least and last thing you should worry about. Supplements are only a bonus. And after that comes things like pause time manipulations, for example. When you do your reps and sets during lifting, then you have the ability to pause less, which leads to more fatigued muscles when you do the next set of your chosen exercise, for example. And if the muscle has less time to regenerate, you provide it with a stimulus for growth that is more intense than last time, and thus it will assist in growing new muscle mass. But it is rather unimportant compared to other things. For example, you can modulate the pause times with the empty bar as much as you want and won't grow even if you do sets of 100, which is called junk volume pretty much. It won't let you grow. The next thing is that you should choose the right amount of volume, variety, frequency, and intensity. Those are more or less all the parameters that are considered important for a good program. The right volume, the right amount of variety, frequency, and intensity, which pretty much means that you should make sure that your body always has something it can adapt to. And that means you always have to do a little bit more in some parameter than last time. Otherwise, there is literally zero need for your body to grow additional muscle. The body is extremely lazy and has an energy conservation drive, and will only create the muscle mass it absolutely needs. Due to our evolutionary history, it was very important to save energy, and muscle consumes a lot of energy. Thus, the body only very unwillingly creates it, and we constantly have to fight for every gram of muscle mass as a natural athlete. After that comes progressive overload, which is an umbrella term for all the things before that. AKA, you should make a heroic effort for adaptation. And this is very crucial. If your program, for example, says you should do 5 reps at 85% intensity, then, well, that's very good, but if it's not challenging for you, you won't invoke adaptation in muscle mass. You should make sure that the lifts actually feel challenging no matter what. Otherwise, it is just junk volume that does not lead to growth. Arnold, for example, famously said that he only started counting his repetitions after it hurt, which makes sense because this is the exact interval in which adaptations in muscle size occur. Only the last bit your body isn't used to. This is what is really important. This is why many of the newer and more popular programs use as many reps as possible on the last set. If you really do as many reps as possible, you get the heroic effort as a part of the program and don't have to force yourself to do it. Nonetheless, you have to really challenge yourself, otherwise no muscle growth will take place. The next thing on the list is, and now we come to the very basic and important stuff, that you should have enough recovery and enough building blocks. If you are too stressed in your everyday life because you have lost your job or have stress with your partner or your boss or your parents or whatever, then you won't grow. If there's constantly cortisol in your blood, then your muscles can't really regenerate properly. And if you, for example, eat too little calories, there are no building blocks your body could create muscle mass from, and thus you won't grow either. You have to make very much sure that you are well recovered and eat enough. You shouldn't eat too much, but enough for your body to regenerate its muscles and maybe create even a little bit new muscle tissue. After that comes the feasibility of a program and the ease of implementation. This is especially important for newer lifters and for natural athletes, because they have to be very careful what they do if they actually want to grow muscle. They can't get away with most of the easy style, high rep 3x12 programs that enhanced athletes can use to grow. They have to be a lot more careful what to do and maybe use very elaborate programs like concurrent periodization to trick their body into thinking that more muscle mass is necessary. And if your program is very complicated or flat out wrong, then you simply will not grow. A lot of things have to be right for a natural athlete to convince its body to grow by a lot. And if you can easily stick to a program, then that is a huge bonus. Without it, you will just stop lifting, and without lifting, you won't grow. It's as easy as that. And the last and most important thing, in my opinion, is actually hitting and feeling the target muscle. All the other parts of this tier list can be right, and you simply will not grow because you do not hit your chest properly in the bench press. If you do not set a stimulus, if you do not use the muscle properly with a good mind-muscle connection, then your chances of growing in either strength or size are very, very small. This point can't really be overemphasized. Many people wonder why their bench press isn't progressing, for example, while they are not even using the chest properly. That's why I often advise new lifters to do, for example, 100 reps of bench press with just the empty bar and feel which muscle is fatigued first. Chances are it is the front delt or the shoulders or some other muscle, but not the chest. Most people won't even feel the chest properly and thus suffer from a poor bench press. And this is true for all the muscles out there, especially in isolation exercises like with the biceps. Many people feel the forearms much more than the biceps when they curl, or the shoulders, and this is a huge problem. If you don't feel the target muscle burn a lot, then you are doing it wrong. After all, without the proper training stimulus, we aren't growing. There is absolutely no chance. In the squat or other big compound movements, you might get away with such things, but not with isolation exercises or bench presses or overhead presses even though they are considered full body movements. Okay, in summary, when you cannot feel a muscle properly, it is very unlikely that it will grow properly. Thus, you should make very sure that you actually hit the target muscle the way it is intended. Many personal coaches will make sure of that, but if you are self-trained, you have to invest a lot of time into getting the form right and into actually feeling out how a muscle should respond to your movements, for example. But let us now come to a summary. The hypertrophy in general is the process of creating new muscle cells, and new muscle cells will only be created when you provide your body with a sufficiently strong stimulus it can adapt to. If there's no reason to grow muscles, the body simply will not do it because of its energy conservation drive. And there are many necessary conditions and some sufficient conditions you can choose from. Necessary conditions are conditions that have to be there, like hitting the muscle, eating enough, recovering a lot, not being stressed, etc. And the other things like right volume, pause times, etc., those things you can choose from. Okay. And some stimuli are usually easier to implement for most people, thus I ordered them as I did on the list. And in summary, a strong enough stimulus is an umbrella term for many things. To be on the safe side, do at least some high intensity training and some high rep training with pretty much each week or at least each day in your program. That way you cover a lot of the necessary conditions. And if you also employ progressive overload, then you might even build a significant amount of muscle and be ahead of the pack. Okay, and that's pretty much it for today. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave it a thumbs up and maybe subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you feel like I missed something, feel free to let me know in the comment section so that other people can benefit from your wisdom. But until then, I wish you a pleasant day and goodbye.